This is GFA Decides on Kwese TV with me, Muftar Nabila Ablai. Tonight, we are speaking to Mr. Fred Pappoe, who is aspiring to become the next president of the Ghana Football Association. We all know the story about how the premiere of an expose into corruption and match fixing by Anas Almayao Anas in the Tiger IPI team in June 2018. That brought Ghana football to its knees. And what it meant is that the organization committee that came in to replace the defunct executive committee have opened that people who are interested in occupying various positions within the Ghana Football Association should avail themselves. And he's thrown in his hat to become the next president of the Ghana Football Association. And tonight in the studio, we want to find out from him why he should be the person that will be leading the Ghana Football Association, why corruption should be eradicated from our game, and how he's going to tackle that. And one key thing people talk about recently is betting that has found its way into football. How is he going to stop our football from being infiltrated with betting that will destroy the system that he's coming back to build? How is he going to restore the image of Ghana football? In the studio, like I mentioned earlier, is Mr. Fred Pappoe. A pleasure to have you.
It's my pleasure. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for coming.
It's my pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yes. Congratulations in the first place. You passed through the vetting process.
Thank you.
How was it like?
It was cool. It was a cool conversation, I would say.
There were people who had petitions all over, but were there any petitions against you?
No. There was no petition against me, and that was a statement confirmed by the panel before we actually started the discussions.
How did you get into football?
I think I got into football as a kid. I developed the interest through my late dad, who used to, we used to play football around in the neighborhood. Yeah. And then at a very early age, he started taking me to the stadium to go and watch my dear club go to the Olympics. And I developed the interest there. So when I think at around secondary school, by the time I got to secondary school, I was almost a football fanatic, a strong Olympics fan. And I followed the passion through there all the way up to the university. Then just at the time I completed my first degree, I joined a group of Olympic supporters called the Concerned Olympians, and then we always used to engage management and the then board on different issues affecting the interests of the club. So we went on, and then I think at that stage, the management, so I was then a very young guy like you, always asking quite a lot of difficult questions, also like you, so yeah, so then they roped me into Olympics management at a very tender age, and I've been there ever since, I think from the late 80s all the way up to now that I serve as a director of the club. Then somewhere along the line, Olympics had two representation on the League Clubs Association, then called the OGLA, Organization of Ghana League Clubs. So
Now GALCA,
yeah. So myself and Professor Joshua Alabi were... Formula
of UPSA?
Exactly, yeah. So he was like one of my numerous very solid mentors in football. So we went, and then we represented Olympics very well at GALCA. I think after 3 or 4 years of involvement at GALCA, I got the fortune to be elected as one of the executive council members of GALCA. Yes. And then through that, I became a member of the management board, where the clubs had 2 representatives each, myself together with Mr. Kwesi Nyantechi. He went in as the vice president, and I was a member. The other 3 members being 2 nominees from government, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo was the chairman, and then Dr. Kofi Amwa, who was a member, together with Professor Aloysius Zankabi. Then, so I got there somewhere along the line. I think there were these changes from FIFA, where we had this new system. We moved to the presidential system, and we went for elections. Mr. Nyantechi won the seat as the president, and then I was also elected onto the executive committee. At our first meeting, we voted for a vice president. I won that vote process, and then I got onto the executive committee and then the emergency committee as the vice president. I stayed on that position for as the vice president for a full term.
Yeah.
What you describe as the longest serving, it wasn't. I don't think it was a long serving term because it was a full term.
Yes.
Even though my successors, none of my successors was able to
go through the full term.
do a full term for one reason or the other. You know, so you're right in that way. Then whilst there, I also occupied the chairmanship of a number of committees. But the most prominent one that people see most and talk about most is the Black Stars Management Committee, which position I held from 2005, I'll say, to 2011.
Yes.
And then after that, I lost my rebid to be the vice president, but then I won my election back again onto the executive committee. I think I beat a pack of about 4 or 5 very interesting contenders at that time, including Mr. George Afriye, Mr. Osei Palmer, I think Lawyer Kwekwe. Yeah. But the 4 of us managed to get a slot to represent Division 1 on the executive committee, and then 1 or 2 others fell by the side. You know, so I went back to the executive committee, but I lost my bid to be a president here. So I stayed on the executive committee till for another full term. Yeah. That executive committee was not disbanded or banned or dissolved or whatever it is. It lasted its full term. It wasn't terminated one way or the other, you know. So I believe that was it till 2015, and then after 2015, I didn't seek re-election onto the executive committee. I stepped back, but then it's good. I hear people keep saying I stepped back and left football to go and do whatever. It's totally untrue. Okay. Absolutely untrue. And when I stepped back, I wasn't a member of the executive committee any longer. But I then remained the director of Accra Great Olympics. Yes. I also remained a patron to one soccer academy targeted at orphans and then the deprived children based in Jamestown in Kolegono called Great Padua. Very talented young guys. I'll invite you to go and watch them one day when they're there.
I'll be there.
Please do. They are wonderful young guys. So you'll be very surprised. So I was doing that. And then at the same time, too, I was the chairman of the match review panel. Yes. A position I served throughout the entire period until I think about 2017 or so, when my team, Olympics, regained entry into the Premier. And looking at the issues, it was likely cases would be coming before us, so I just had to resign.
Recuse yourself?
Yeah, I recused myself from that panel, but then I was still with Olympics. It was because of Olympics that I resigned, so it's a bit erroneous and funny for people to say I left football.
You're that gentleman who doesn't want to put yourself in situations where your interests plus your position, where you have to serve, you have issues serving both. So you decided to, if I step back and then let other people handle my club instead. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm that type. Of course, I can do that. I know myself that I can do that, and I can do that fairly. Yeah. I know myself fully. When if push comes to shove and I'm stuck to the wall, I have no other option. I can do that fairly. Yeah. And those who know me closely will attest to that. But then also, you don't want to give room for certain perceptions out there. Yes. You know, so I felt it was better to take a step back. It was a very interesting task, and for 2 years that I was there, I really learned a lot about refereeing, what referees go through, what referees do to clubs, and then a lot of very strange decisions and issues. You know.
We'll get to that point, but let me find out from you, what transpired that you lost your position to become the vice president of the Ghana FA?
I contested for an election and I lost. People believe there was a conspiracy against me. I heard that, and what do I do? I don't have to. I believe the guys who had to vote, the Electoral College, maybe they were a bit fed up with me. 11 of them were, even though six or 7 were not.
Were not.
Yeah, you know, so I lost by, I think, a margin of 3 or 4, even though I didn't campaign, because I didn't know I was going to be contested against.
Okay.
Yeah, that was contrary to what we had all agreed the night before that I was going unopposed. But then I came in there in the morning, and then 10-15 minutes to the elections, there was this surprise that somebody was going to contest against me.
that was actually a very interesting one. So what was your reaction to just 10 to 15 minutes to the vote, someone springs up to say the person is going to vote against you? Or stand to contest?
I wasn't I wasn't surprised that somebody was going to stand to contest much against what we had agreed on, but I think I was a bit worried about the fact that nobody could tell me why they did not want me. Because I would expect, if I were to be in that situation, I'll tell you, Muftau, I think you come for meetings too late, or you don't have a good way of talking to people, or maybe people don't trust you, or we don't trust you with how you handle finances and the rest. I'll give you the reasons but then we are all different human beings, you know, so nobody could tell me. I didn't get the opportunity to even find out, and then before I realized, we went for the elections and I lost. Who
contested against you?
My good friend, the late Jordan Anabra, yeah. But I know he was made to contest against me.
Who made him to contest?
The establishment.
The establishment. Was he advised to go and contest because people promised that if he goes in there, he will win?
No. Well, he was assured of at least 10 votes, and you needed just about, I think we were about 18 or so who voted.
So how come you never knew that this thing could come up?
Because I never knew. You are dealing with human beings. You never know. That's why God has a good reason why He made our faces and our brains and our minds covered with an opaque material. You know, you never know.
So sitting back and watching the Ghana FA, what did you think did not go right and brought us to this point of normalization and subsequently to new leadership?
I think two things. There was the exercise of absolute power, I would say, and we all know what comes with that. Then I think also, to be very fair to the former president, I believe he didn't get the benefit of sustained good advice, good and sincere advice. You know, in Ghana, we always have that problem where people want to tell people what will please them.
Yes.
And if you're a leader and you find yourself in that situation, it's the most difficult situation for one to find his or herself in as a leader, because you will never know when you are going right. And with all the power and authority vested in a leader, if you don't take care, you become a bit of a demigod, one way or the other, you know. So it's quite unfortunate. I believe he wasn't getting the benefit of sustained good advice. Maybe once in a while there will be bits or pieces of advice going here and there, but then on the sustain, there were way too many people who were not ready to speak the truth.
So at what point would you realize that this advice someone is giving to me is either right or wrong? Because as someone who wants to get into that position, you should be able to find that balance to tell that what this person is telling me is the right thing and what this person is telling me is the wrong thing.
I think there's a Bible quotation. I can't get the exact this thing. My wife says it very well, but it's something to do with, in the abundance of counsel, wisdom is found, or something. Okay. You know. So if there's a situation and then you came by and then you offered a solution or what you felt was an advice, fine, I'll take it. I'll also digest and then see what it is. But maybe I would ask one or two other people I can trust, or people not related. Most times when I was there, if I had an issue which was bugging my mind, I'll just pick the phone or go to a friend or an acquaintance not so deeply into football, and then present the situation that, look, if you were confronted with this and this situation, what would you advise? You know, so you pick from 2 or 3 places, and I'm sure you'll be able to see which option will be the best. Not necessarily a bad advice or whatever it is. It may be good, but it may not be the best option.
There's that community who says that it was harsh for FIFA to sideline those who were heading the Ghana Football Association because specific individuals were caught. So those individuals should have stepped aside and allowed the executive committee to take charge of football and organize elections. Do you agree to this?
I think in the heat of the expose, everybody was literally hard and bitter against the establishment, the entire executive committee. So at that time, it was going to be difficult to pick 1 or 2 or 3 people who had been found in what I'll call a sample, filming or documentary, and then just say, let the system run, because it was a whole systemic issue. You know, I believe that was what may have informed the FIFA's position, which you describe as harsh. But then the aspect which worries me was the neglect at a certain stage of the football community in the processes of rebuilding and then bringing the association up. You know, there were times when FIFA sent delegation to Ghana,
yes,
or delegations to Ghana, and they never consulted with what you describe as a football people, even though it's a nuance I don't want to use that much, you know. So I believe that was a bit unfortunate in that process, and to quite a great extent, I'm sure the remedies that they came out with lost a bit of the touch if there had been inputs from that angle, because definitely I don't think it was everybody in the system who was undesirable.
At what point did you start having the vision to lead Ghana football?
I keep leading us as the FA president. Yes. Oh, okay. I think it was when people started coming to me, very well-meaning people calling me on phone, and then elders, you know, very, very, very serious people, you know.
When was this?
I'm sure that might have been sometime in 20, I'm sure it was around 20, I left the executive committee in 2015. From 2017, thereabouts. Okay. Yeah. But I wasn't taking it, so I just kept reflecting until when the issue came up. Yeah. And then the association realized the association had really literally shattered. Yeah. You know, then I saw there was a need for strong shoulders to go under the cart to bring it up. You never thought of contesting the president when you were in the executive committee? No, never. It never crossed my mind for a day. Why? I'm not that kind of person. That wasn't the first time I'd been the vice president. I was there as a vice president. Do your job as a vice president. Work with your president. Make sure he succeeds. Yeah. If he does, you would also go. You will get some of the glory, and that was what I did. But I wasn't in the seat, not at all. Why? Why is that your eyes were never on it? It's my nature. I'm not overly ambitious. It's my nature. I do what I have to do at the time, and I believe in God's own time things will work out. That's just how I am. But I'm sure people saw me as a threat to the president or whatever it is at that time. But then it was nothing that was crossing my mind. So it never crossed your mind that you should contest the president? That's very interesting to hear. But let me just get one quick clarification from you. At this point, you've availed yourself that you want to lead the Ghana Football Association. Yeah. Per what you've done in football, per all the things people know you for, per how you led the management committee of the Black Stars and all that, your credentials to lead the Ghana Football Association are unquestionable. But one would ask, why now? Why now? Because the Football Association, through the glory of God, or the favor of God, we've gotten the chance for a second life. Yeah. The association literally died. It literally died. It was shattered, and it was embarrassed. It became a shameful debacle. Anytime I recall the words used by the Attorney General to describe the FA, it cuts my heart, you know. That was what happened. The Ghana Football Association is led by Rooks. Exactly. Those were her words. Those were words, exactly. And she said they cannot allow the Ghana Football Association to exist because officials of the FA has used their positions for their own aggrandizement. Exactly. You know, and some other stronger words. You know, I remember quite clearly. I was in the studio just like I am now when they were playing back those words. It was quite painful listening to that. You know, so fortunately we've had a chance to have a second go, and I believe this is the time for the best of the best within the FA or within the Ghanaian community who qualify to contest to bring their shoulders under the wheel. Why do you want to be FA president? Because it requires a lot of characteristics. The whole process requires a lot of characteristics, which is so delicate that the kind of leadership it gets will, to a great extent, lead to its success or otherwise. And I believe I've got the qualities to lead the process. I've got the qualities to engender teamwork. I've got the qualities to make members of my team belong or feel respected. I've got the qualities to bring out the best in the members of my team. I have the quality to unify. You know, I don't discriminate. I flow with everybody, and the evidence is clear. Black Stars' achievements was not through any single effort of Fred Pappoe or, for that matter, it was just a matter of teamwork and getting the best out of everybody, from players through their coaching staff to the management. If you ever choose to do a little bit of a background search or research about me, talk to anybody I've served on the committee with, whether PLB, what do you call it, match review panel or the rest, and they'll tell you. There are people who said you are like a father figure to the players. people tell you that. Yeah. Still.
I've just spoken to most of the players.
Like some of them, I think they get a bit angry, to use the word, and I laugh at them. They get a bit angry when they get to know somebody is contesting me.
Yeah.
You know, but I tell them it's democracy. Just keep quiet and flow with it. You know. Yeah, they are like my little brothers, and then typically a father figure. Almost every player who comes to me from the first group of the Samuel Kufuor, Stephen Appiers, Bafojan, Samoajan, Olele, all the way up to Otuados, all the way up to my recent Chan group 2014, Abe Kwenusin, Richard Impong, and Stephen Adams, and the rest. You know, it was what do you call this gentleman from Liberty, Nelson, Alfred
and
Nelson.
This boy from who was family with the BRC.
Atubra. Yeah, very troublesome boys. Very troublesome boys. If you told me they were standing outside now, I'll pass through another door too.
So just before we go for break, I'd like you to tell me why the delegates should choose Fred Pappoe. Yeah,
they would have to choose Fred Pappoe because we are going on a very delicate path.
Okay.
It's a potentially turbulent path. You need somebody with a lot of calmness, a lot of experience, a lot of, as it were, competence, and then leadership potential to lead the process. You need somebody that you at the back will be confident in. I'm not a soldier. I've not been in the military before, but I'm sure if soldiers are going to battle and they look at their commander or the one leading them, it gives them a certain kind of motivation because they know this man can never get it wrong. That is why I want to go.
We need to go for a break, and when we come back, I will find out from Mr. Fred Pappoe how he's going to create an enabling environment for the development of football in this country. We'll be back in the GFA. This is GFA Decides with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah.
I've served this industry long enough. Wait, sir? I think that I have gone through the woods of Ghana to every club, to every region, not to know who constitutes Congress or who constitutes Congress, and not to know the problems facing our industry, for which reason I think that I'm best placed to solve the problems the industry faces.
We need somebody with integrity to help restore the integrity of the game.
This is not time for Matramakwe. This is the time for somebody who is tried and tested.
GFA Decides.
Long enough. I think that I have gone through the woods of Ghana to every club, to every region, not to know who constitutes Congress or who constitutes Congress, and not to know the problems facing our industry, for which reason I think that I'm best placed to solve the problems the industry faces.
We need somebody with integrity to help restore the integrity of the game.
This is not time for Matramakwe. This is the time for somebody who is tried and tested.
GFA Decides.
Welcome back from the break. This is GFA Decides on Kwesa TV with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Tonight, we are speaking to Mr. Fred Pappoe, who is aspiring to become the next president of the Ghana Football Association. He's that gentleman who has done it before for the national team, that is the Black Stars. But now, he's going to handle an entire institution like the Ghana Football Association. We are speaking to him about his vision for Ghana football. And just before we went for a break, he was speaking to us about how if a soldier is leading a team, those behind him, considering what their leader is doing, they'll be so confident about what their leader is doing and throw their weight behind their leader. But now I'm coming to him to explain to us how he's going to create an enabling environment for football to thrive in the country. Mr. Fred Pappoe, one of the key things people talked about in our football, and one of the key reasons where the number 12 was premiered was this perceived lack of perceived corruption, lack of transparency, and match fixing. One key thing people talk about is a corruption bed. How do we tackle corruption in our football before we get to how you're going to create an enabling environment for Ghana football to thrive?
Well, the perception of corruption is a bit of an unfortunate perception, but then once it gets stuck to you as an individual or an institution, you have to do your possible best to win yourself off that tag. There are quite a lot of measures that will be put in place to respond to this. For example, fortunately, within the body of rules and regulations that were adopted, I think about some weeks back at Congress,
5, yes.
There are very clear provisions which seek to fight against corruption or prevent corrupt practices amongst officials of the Football Association. These tenets will be religiously complied with. It will just be non-negotiable. We would have to live and abide by those standards. Issues relating to accounting, issues relating to auditing, issues relating to overall internal financial management, issues relating to even operation of very petty accounting issues, taking your interest, retiring it, doing it at the right time. And those are all things we would have to look at very clearly. Then if you come to the other side of it, the not directly financial side of it, you're looking at issues relating to credibility and integrity of the FA and then some products of the FA. And you mentioned issues about match fixing and the rest. We would have to be very strict and open our eyes about that because the temptation to match fix is very real and it exists. You know, so what will it do? We would have to create an enabling environment to make sure that the key actors are not put in a position where they'll be compromised. For example, the arrangement of how match officials go to the centers and are received and hosted by the home team. Within our Ghanaian cultural setting, you know, once you start doing that, then in a way, the person becomes a bit prone. It weakens the person's resolve to be fair, especially to the other party who is not offering those services. And maybe it's a poor away team coming from, let's say, Boga or Paga. They are coming to play Olympics in Accra, and then the referees come in and Olympics have to go and pick them, send them for lunch, go and make sure they are well accommodated and the rest. You realize you are fraternizing with the referees. In other jurisdictions, it's even illegal to pick your phone and call a referee in the course of the season. Yes, you know, so if why do they do that? Are they not the same human beings? They are the same human, but they know if you created those kind of conditions, you'll be exposing yourself and the referees to.
So how do we stop that?
We'll just stop that. We'll set up rules and regulations, codes of conduct, code of ethics and things like that to keep people from doing those things. If you fall foul of it, appropriate sanctions will be applied.
Does it mean that the clubs can no longer pick the referees, or
they should no longer do it? We should make the referees self-sufficient to be able to go to the venue without any fear or favor, go and do their work and come out.
How do we make them self-sufficient?
We are owing the referees. We don't pay them. We don't look at their transport and other. And there was a time previously, there was a certain point in time.
Because you were part of that review committee of the referees.
Yeah, there was a time when the FA had a system where the FA was choosing hotels for the referees. You know, so if you're going to Accra, you have to come and stay here. If you are going to Kumasi, these are the hotels. You know, and it was on a rotational basis, at least to keep some kind of semblance of privacy and security amongst the referees. We would have to look at this whole process again, together with the Executive Council, and see how best to move out of the present practice because it's a bit risky. You
talked about the FA owing referees. Probably could be that the FA doesn't have the funds to pay the referees.
Yes.
How do we pay these referees when you don't have the money?
When we don't have the money. So it's all an offshoot of the bigger core problem, which is to do with the fact that the brand has been damaged. So we are not getting sponsorship. That's why we have to work hard. My first point of call will be to work hard consistently at trying to restore the brand image so that we'll be able to, as it were, appeal to and be appealing to corporate Ghana to provide some form of funding. There are other marketable opportunities like merchandising and the rest, advertising, and so many other aspects or possible sources of revenue generation that we would explore aggressively. You know, and then another point too is that if we are able to secure funding, which we will work seriously against, one possible objective for securing funding will be to even secure funds, try as much as to secure sponsorship for officiating and ring fence that, so that at least with the funds coming for that, you know, this is ring fence. It's not going to be used for anything. It's just going to be used purely for for refereeing and the rest, so that when the referees go, they will not fall into that temptation. I'm not saying they are not human. Somebody will say, we can do that, they will still go and do it. Fine. Yeah. We do our best to prevent you or not to create the enabling environment for you to officiate fairly. If you go and you offend, and we realize that through proper, sincere, independent assessments, you've done something which may have been influenced by some underhand dealings and things like that, we apply the appropriate sanctions. If consistently over 2 or 3 occasions you are found to be that, then you are just telling us clearly that you are not fit to be part of the system. You cannot be part of the system. Exactly, and it's simple. It doesn't matter whether you are my elder brother or my junior brother or whatever. You just have to be. You have to give way. You talked about securing sponsorship or securing funding from. Are you going to do that from the corporate world? We will target the corporate world. We will target very different sources. The corporate world. We will target FIFA. We will target CAF. We will target other associations to get within the limits and ethics of FIFA. There are certain things you cannot do with other associations. The corporate world, we are talking about this one, and so many other sources, including the FA's own internally generated revenue. Okay, so now let me find out from this. If you're not able to secure the funds, let's say within your first year or first 2 years, how do you handle the situation of monetary issues like paying off referees, paying off staff and all that, and how you are going to eradicate corruption? Because if you are able to pay the referee has money, so he might not go for more. But if you're not able to raise the funds, it's a big deal. What is the alternative solution should you not be able to secure that sponsorship within a year or 2? We will not be looking at only one source or one set of sources. I've spoken about sponsorship, I've spoken about partnership or cooperation agreements with other institutions. I've spoken about dealing with associations. I'm also talking about the FA's internally generated sources through merchandising and other means. The FA has got quite some facilities at, Pram and the rest. We would have to, in my manifesto, it's quite clear over there, we would have to upgrade, expand Pram, so that even in its present state, it could be marketable for FA to get some revenue. There are teams that can go and stay there. Yeah. If the Meteors can stay there, if the Under-23 can stay there, why can't, let's say, maybe the Algeria national team traveling to go and play in Burkina Faso? Why won't they come and stay there? So we'll do all these petty things so that at least little drops of water at the end of the day will make a mighty ocean. But then we'll do it consistently. It's going to be a multi-pronged approach to target different sources of funding. Okay, so our time is a bit fast spent, but how do we restore the image of the Ghana football? Yeah. How are we going to do that? How do we rebrand the image of the Ghana football? By showing evidently and clearly that we are abiding by the principles of good governance. We are applying by the principles of transparency and accountability. We are applying with the highest ethical principles and morality. We institute a reward and sanction system. It's not just a matter of always sanctioning people, but where you see maybe considering this official has been behaving well, has been abiding by the rules and things like that, you can bring it up for glorification. Yeah. And if somebody is also doing something negatively, you apply the necessary sanctions and you publicize it, so that together you see that people will see that you are doing things in the right way. Another way is that we are going to expose ourselves to public scrutiny. Yeah. We would institute biannual, possibly biannual, but of course we'll discuss with the Executive Council a biannual Meet Your Councillors program, where like a town hall program, the councillors will be there with the members of the general public and the media to throw all your questions at them, especially you. I'm sure you have a full day, How? It will be interesting to have that interaction. Yeah, there should be. Because, you see, my belief is that we are accountable to the people. We are just fortunate to be one of members of a 120 member board. Yeah. But that doesn't mean we are the only ones with a stake in Ghana football. Yeah. We would argue that we are the ones who buy the boots and things for the players, but at the same time, when we sell the players, we are the ones who keep the money. There's another side of it. But yes. what about the person out there who is emotionally attached to the game? Somebody who is culturally or politically or economically attached to the game. There are people whose livelihoods also depend on the game, but they do not have a chance to vote. So we should expose ourselves to these people, because definitely, I'm sure they may be coming up with some very good ideas on how to do things and how not to do things, or even just for them to ask questions and then we explain things to them. How transparent is Mr. Fred Pappoe? Well, I believe I'm as transparent as one could humanly be. And that's why I'm saying I believe in exposing ourselves to this. We would have media engagements, a regular daily media portal where people could be flying questions and things like that. You know, so I try to be as transparent as every human being could be. Fortunately, I've had the chance of working with two key institutions where the principles of transparency and accountability are held in very high esteem. You just can't do otherwise, and then it becomes a nature. You know, so it becomes part of your nature, and that's what has held me up to this stage.
And it will be interesting to know how, because previously the Ghana Football Association have signed deals. Anytime we tried questioning for the details of those deals, we are told due to confidentiality clauses. I remember in November last year, I had the privilege of speaking to the CAF president, Mr. Ahmad Ahmad, and I asked him when he signed a deal with Visa. You accuse your previous administration of not being transparent. You signed a deal with Visa. You've told journalists, due to confidentiality clauses, you cannot make it public. What shows that you are transparent? What is the guarantee that should Fred Pappoe sign deals on behalf of the Ghana Football Association, the community or the football community will not be told that due to some confidentiality clauses, we will not know the details of that contract? It will
not be Fred Pappoe signing deals or contracts on behalf of the football. It will be the FA entering into contracts.
Okay, so your administration entering into
exactly.
details.
So it may be the general employer status is the general secretary, the chief executive, officer, who will be the one signing with a member of the executive council witnessing. So it may also happen that even if I win for about a period of 4 years, I may not. You may not even find myself.
How do you guarantee that?
I'm coming to your point. The point is that there are confidentiality clauses in contracts. Yes. But then there are certain facts in contracts which could very well be made public. For example, the contract sum. If MTN enters into a contract with the GFA to pay $5 million or 5 million cedis over 4 or 5 years, I don't see anything secret about that. Those are bits of information that can go out. Other details, the companies or the other parties might insist this should be protected by confidentiality. But the main highlights of contracts should be very clearly known. And mind you, in our audited reports, the audited reports will be audited by international audit firms and then made public annually. In addition to the present arrangement where it even goes to the Public Accounts Committee and all the rest. In those things, the receipts will be there. The receipts, the inflows to the FA will be there. Like this year, revenue inflow, sponsorship from Viasat, Quest TV, $200,000 or whatever it will be there.
So now let's get this point. There was this policy of giving commission to people who bring in contracts to the Ghana FA. Sometimes 15%, sometimes 20%, depending on the sum the person was bringing in. What is the guarantee that your administration will not give such commission to people who bring in deals to the Ghana FA? Because they often end up getting more than even the clubs they broker the deal on behalf.
Okay. There was a reason, there is a reason, and that practice is not only peculiar to the FA. Okay. I think it pertains in the corporate world, where persons who bring in some amount of revenue or sponsorship or contracts are given a certain commission predetermined. But then I believe sometimes when the figures are a bit clouded in secrecy or in some kind of opaqueness, you know, that's what gives rise to this kind of suspicion and the rest. You know, so definitely that practice will still be there to encourage people to, as it were, bring, because the FA will be outsourcing quite a lot of things, marketing, sponsorship, and the rest. But then, right from the word go, the Executive Council will sit down, argue, debate in a very fair and free manner, and agree on a schedule of commissions. If, let's say, it's above X amount, 10%, if it's above this amount, you know, it should be very well graduated and discussed with openly so that we just put it down. So it will not be a situation where we operate on as is when, so that when next time I see Muftar has brought a contract and Muftar is my cousin or so, I'll say it's 15%. And then the next time when it's somebody else, it's 10% or whatever it is. All those things, as much as possible, we should just agree on that. Transparently, we just put it there. There will be a schedule. We will have a finance committee. We would have a legal committee. We will have a contract body or so. We would all sit down and then agree on those things and put it down clearly in a transparent manner.
Now let's go for our second break. But before we do that, I'd just like you to sum up this for me. The Secretariat of the Ghana Football Association, or the old statutes of the Ghana Football Association. People say we arguably had one of the best statutes. But those statutes have been changed. Like you mentioned earlier, these current statutes are supposed to ensure that the Ghana Football Association does not go back to what we encountered last year. One key area Anas touched on was referee. What would your administration be doing about referee?
You want me to answer now after the break?
Just answer now before we go for the break.
Oh, we'll do a lot. I've told you about creating the environment where the referees will not be in the position where they will be exposed to compromises here and there. That is one. There will be regular training and refresher courses for the referees. That is two. And then also, one critical thing is that I think we would have to create competition amongst the referees. Now, what do we do? In Ghana, we are all Ghanaians, and I've mentioned this in one or two places before. We have a military institution which is highly noted for high level of discipline. It should be possible. The military, through the security services, security and educational services, they are members of the Congress.
Yes.
You know, would go to them and then encourage them to at least get us a few, let's say 20, 30, 40, 50, as the case may be, to volunteer as referees. And then we will subject them to crash training programs from FIFA, from CAF, and the rest. And then we add them to the pool of referees. As and when, you know, when we are picking, I hope you will have a chance to be there when they are picking referees to officiate matches. You have to look at so many things. Once in a while, when the issues look a bit interesting or so, you could pick. Imagine you go to watch a game at Accra Sports Stadium, or let's say Karindorf Park, Kotoko versus Liberty, and then it's a referee, Captain Buama from Tamale, whatever it is, officiating. You know, to some extent, we are Ghanaians. Let's be very open and truthful to ourselves.
Yes.
You know, it will take quite a lot for a fan to be indisciplined.
Indiscipline.
Or to show any such acts, you know. You know, so we'll make use of such institutions and individuals that we have to make the FA function on very innovative lines. We'll get them on board, not just them, but university faculty, professionals, and the rest, you know. We encourage those people to also come on board.
We need to go for a break. We'll go for a break now, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the competitions of the Ghana Football Association, how they are going to improve. His administration will improve those competitions, and also I would like to find out from him what is entailed in that manifesto he'll be launching anytime soon. We'll be back soon.
That I have gone through the woods of Ghana to every club, to every region, not to know who constitutes Congress or who constitutes Congress, and not to know the problems facing our industry, for which reason I think that I'm best placed to solve the problems the industry faces.
We need somebody with integrity to help restore the integrity of the game.
This is not time for Matramakwe. This is the time for somebody who is tried and tested.
GFA decides.
We are back again. This is GFA Decides. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, and tonight we are speaking to Mr. Fred Pappoe, who is aspiring to become the next president of the Ghana Football Association. And we haven't had people compete as much as they are doing to become the next president of the Ghana Football Association since 2005, if my memory serves me right, when the likes of, is it Kojo Bonsu?
Kojo Bonsu, Mr. Adekoka, Mr. Alaji Ibrahim, and the rest,
All those people were all interested in becoming the president of the Ghana Football Association in 2005. After Mr. Nyaho Tamakulu announced live on radio that he was not going to be the president of the Ghana Football Association. Now, they are competing to become the next president. But before that platform was created for them to compete, we arrived here because of corruption in our game. Anas went As far as radio, he went beyond the radio and TV commentary of bribery and corruption in our football to bring us videos and pictures. And the next leadership of the Ghana Football Association will have, I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to put it as pressure or a lot of work to do to restore the public interest and image of the Ghana Football Association. First of all, how difficult would it be to restore public confidence in the competitions of the Ghana Football Association?
It will be difficult. It will be difficult, but it will not be unsurmountable. Restoring public confidence hinges a lot on engaging in acts, statements, behaving in a manner that will inspire the public that, look, these guys are doing things differently. It may take a bit of time, but slowly and gradually, if we are abiding by the best tenets of the profession, we're talking about officiating, we put in quite a lot of very interesting measures. They say that, look, now the referees are officiating differently. When people do well, you praise them, you accord them, you could institute maybe referee of the week program or whatever it is, or referee of the month program based upon the assessments given by the assessors and independent assessors. You know, if we do all these kind of things at the FA itself, if the FA officials are seen to be conducting themselves in their manner, and most of the guys that have offered themselves to contest at the different levels, I believe, are quite.
Like the way people go on radio and say this referee took bribe or this club decided to bribe this referee.
Yeah, those kind of things. You see,
how do you fight those ones?
You would have to. It's not happening in some places. Why is it not happening in some places? Even if a coach passes a derogatory comment about the referee, what happens? In England, in Germany, and those kind of places, he's sanctioned.
Will you do that for Ghana Football?
Why not? Why won't? If that needs to be done, if that becomes a need to be done in order to restore confidence and then to restore seriousness into our game, we would have to do that, because we cannot allow those kind of things to continue. If you have a genuine reason why you think a referee has not officiated well, there will be channels for you to put in your redress, and then whoever it is who will be adjudicating on that matter will be expected to deal with the matter as fairly as possible. What I keep saying is that if consistently we see that the decisions of a particular person or group of persons appear to be generating too much hate and then negative feedback, we would have to go in again and see quite closely. If we are convinced that this man or this group of guys are not up to it, why not? You just have to offload them. But you just don't keep them sitting there and then doing the same old things and then getting the FA's reputation back to the pit where it was.
So in your estimation, how long will it take us to restore public confidence in the Ghana FA? A year, 2, 6 months, 3 months?
This is a sociological question. It will take quite some years gradually. It will take quite some. It could be a year or a year plus, but then it could also be 6 months. If the results of what you keep doing start showing clearly, I'm sure gradually you will start getting the confidence of the people back. You know, so it's something to really put. It's a bit difficult to put an exact year that 6 months the public confidence should be back. It's not a commodity. It's not a discrete commodity.
Okay. So what are the 3 key things Mr. Fred Pappoe will be looking to do in his first year or first 2 years if he's voted into office?
Thank you very much. I'll be looking at I've told you the core problem. That's the governance of the association. I'll be seeking to, we'll set ourselves on the crusade to get the brand back, restore the brand, and that will be the first thing. And that will require a lot of very, very, very clear and strategic initiatives which cut across a broad session. Quite a lot of them are in my manifesto. Then also, we'll be looking at juvenile football.
Okay.
That is the base, because we are talking about a pyramid of Ghana football. I'm looking at the whole establishment as a pyramid. That will be the supply point. That is the point where you will be interacting, or football will be interacting with the community, where the community will start getting their interest back. It's one sure way. Through coast football and the rest, you'll be assured of supplies into the senior national teams and all the national teams. You know, and when I'm talking about juvenile, I'm talking about both boys and girls. Okay. We must try to start encouraging and then publicizing and popularizing girls football. Okay. You know, so that is also
number 2.
That was number
2. Number 3.
Number 3, player welfare issues. Okay. Both in their playing times and then when they retire from football, we find most of our players on the path of destitution. You know, so we'll be implementing, if I'm voted, a mandatory insurance scheme for players, for referees, for...
The mandatory insurance, is it not already in existence?
Mandatory. It's not. The PFAG did something for the players. Yeah. I think it's either lapsed or it's going to be lapsed. They did a 2-year thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if it's in existence, we are going to enforce it.
Okay.
We will make sure it's vetted. We will open it up to a lot of insurance companies to come in and then give proposals and the rest, and we'll make sure we pick the best for the players. And then a pension scheme. Now, when we talk about pensions, you are talking about facilities that you get after working for 30 years or so. But there are schemes, or there's a scheme in operation now, which caters for the peculiarities of football players, whose careers could span 8 years, 10 years, or even 1 year. You know, this is a scheme that we'll put in place so that at least there's some comfort for the players when they retire from football. You know, so these are some of the, but then there are quite a number of
lot of things that you'll be doing. Now, the Ghana Premier League, you were part of the Ghana Football Association. Would you say that prior to the things we encountered in the number 12, they were not in existence, or they were in existence, but they were glossed over? Let's say the perceived corruption, referees taking... They were in existence.
They were in existence. So many people suffered from it. So many, various clubs suffered from it, even including members of the executive committee at that time. That's why we had my brother Palmer running to CAS.
To CAS and all that.
We had Olympics running to the court, Elijah Gusa running to the court. So many people suffered from it.
Okay, so interestingly, now it brings me to the point where people, despite how we're doing well in the World Cup, people still overlooked that side of the corruption thing, especially in our domestic football. The Premier League, the Division 1, the Women's League, what will we be doing for these competitions?
There are several things. You know, there's one canker which is coming up. I don't know whether you mentioned it in your preliminary remarks, but then I don't know whether we'll get to that. Betting.
Yes.
It's a very delicate thing. It's creeping into our game.
Yes.
Very, 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 very gingerly. And if we don't sit up to it, it will just end up ruining our game. Yeah. I remember there were occasions where matches were played, and even when a team was conceding goals, their fans were rejoicing. You know,
I remember that the game you were referring to.
Yeah, so. It's the truth, you know. So maybe it could be just 1 game or 2 games, but then gradually it's getting to a certain level. I remember there were times when people would sit on the radio and then they'll be forecasting. I don't know where they got those magical powers from.
And they often do come to pass.
Yeah. You see, so definitely, betting is good. It generates revenue for many different people. It could be a source of employment and the rest. But then we cannot have betting in our system without any body of regulations. Yeah. The English FA, betting is done. It's literally global now. Yeah. But they are done within very, very clear and specific rules and regulations. Do this, don't do that. If you are so and so person, you should not. You are not allowed to bet, or your relatives. We must put all those things in place before this thing overtakes us.
Okay.
You know, so definitely that's one sure way of bringing sanity in the system there. And then the officiating. One exciting thing about football when you're going to watch a game is that you know who and who are playing tomorrow. Let's use our local, like the Black Queens. They are going to play Kenya tomorrow. I wish them luck, and I hope they will learn from their failings in the on Friday and then get a good result. But if you knew already that the Black Queens are going to beat Kenya 2-0, you'll be happy as a Ghanaian, but then there will not be any excitement.
Yes.
You see, so this betting and then this match fixing, bribery of referees and things like that, it compromises the neutrality of our game. Yeah. You know, and if you want people to go back to the studio to go and watch a match, because I'll not go and waste my time to go and watch a match when I know this team is going to win 3-2 or this team is going to win 4-2. I'll not go, especially when we have other serious, what I call intervening opportunities. Yeah. Because I know on Sunday, if I start at home, I'll be able to watch Manchester City playing Liverpool or whatever it is. But then something should pull me to go and watch the match between Olympics and Hearts of Oak at Accra Sports Stadium.
That's interesting.
Because I know there's going to be excitement.
So how will you get the people into the stadium?
I've spoken about rejuvenating from the community level through coast football. One other way, ensuring and then publicizing credibility in our game, so that at least they know that this game is not going to be predetermined and with the results in the referee's pocket or whatever it is, or these two teams have not arranged that. Oh, look, you beat me. Yeah, then when I come to your home, you also
draw.
No, you know, Once we clear all those kind of things. And then one interesting point is that we should have innovative match scheduling. Innovative match scheduling in the sense that if you close from work on Friday, for example, I live at Tema, I'll sit in traffic for about 2 hours before getting home on a Friday. On Friday, what prevents us from putting fixtures at 5 o'clock or 5:30 at Accra Sports Stadium? You close from work, you go and watch it. After by 7 o'clock or so, it's over. You can sit somewhere, have a drink with friends and so like that. Then you move off to your home. You know, we must be smart about the way we do that. You know, because there's no point deliberately fixing the match at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock when you know it's going to be. You know, some very innovative ways of doing our game. We should even consider. Possibly playing on Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings. You will never know. But there are quite a lot of very interesting ideas that we can look at that. For example, if you're talking about Division 1 and the lower leagues also, Sunday mornings, or Thursday stars also, when you go to some
Monday
of these when you go to some of these communities, Tema, Jamestown, Kaokude, and the Sunday mornings, you see matches being played. But I know that we have a lot of churchgoers, but if we plan it in such a way, you know, my point is that we must be innovative. We shouldn't just take things as if it was the gospel that we have to abide by. No.
Okay, thank you very much. We're having fun in the conversation, even when the time too was flying. It's a pleasure having you in the studio. Talk to us about your vision for Ghana football. Hopefully, when you become the next president of the Ghana Football Association, we'll pray and hope we have you in the studio to talk about these things, whether they are happening or not. We will hold you accountable.
You must hold me accountable. That's
on this platform. It's been a pleasure coming your way with GFA Decides here on Kwese TV with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah.
Good.
I've served this industry long enough. I think that I have gone through the woods of Ghana to every club, to every region, not to know who constitutes Congress or who constitutes Congress, and not to know the problems facing our industry, for which reason I think that I'm best placed to solve the problems the industry faces.
We need somebody with integrity to help restore the integrity of the game.
This is not time for Matramakwe. This is the time for somebody who is trying and testing.
GFA Decides.